Hi, everyone, and welcome. I'm Tami from Nutmeg Notebook. I'm so happy to have you here today. This is day 4 of our series with my dear friend Sia. And today we are going to have a really wonderful topic. This is all about a whole food, plant-based lifestyle, how to make it easy. We cover different topics each week, and we're just so happy that you all are joining us today. If it's your first time, welcome. If you have been watching this series over the past few weeks, thank you so much for doing so. And thank you for coming back today. We do encourage participation. And so feel free to ask us questions in the chat. And we just ask that you would preface those questions with 2 or 3 question marks and with 2 or 3 question marks, just so that the questions will pop out at us, and we'll do every attempt to make sure we answer your questions today. And of course, I am not doing this alone. I am doing this with my dear friend Sia Hurst from 60 Living. Hey, Sia.
Hello. Hey, everybody. How you doing today?
And for those of you who don't know, Sia is joining us from Greece. And so
Woohoo!
I know it's such a treat. It's wonderful. So I'm
Look, we've got
excited
someone
about.
from England too. All right.
Oh, wow. That's so nice. Yeah, we love
Oh,
it when you tell us where you're watching from, you guys. That's so fun. And yeah, we've got people from Vancouver, Utah, all over. How fun.
absolutely. Beautiful. Beautiful,
Washington. Well, and
beautiful.
I'm in Northern California, and we are actually having a little bit of sunshine today. Spring has been slow to come to us, but we're excited to see some sunshine today as well. We have a really great topic today, you guys. Today is all about cravings, how to handle them, the difference between true hunger and cravings, triggers for cravings. You might be surprised about the triggers. Um, Triggers and the implication of addiction. We're going to talk more about that. How to avoid triggers for cravings, and Sia and I will share with you our own personal experiences in along these topics as well. For those of you who don't know, we both used to be overweight, and we've been having tremendous success on a whole food, plant-based lifestyle without sugar, oil, and I won't say that I'm completely salt-free, because I like a little bit of condiments that might have some salt in them, but definitely I don't cook with any salt. And
Right.
so, yeah. So I think first, Sia, we should talk about um, what is a craving, so people kind of have an idea. What is a difference? What is a
Yeah.
craving, and what's the difference between a craving and true hunger?
Well, hunger occurs because your stomach releases something called ghrelin, right? It occurs because your body is low in nutrients and or calories. That's true hunger. Cravings occur when our minds convince us that we need something in order to survive the moment. If I don't have it right now, I'm not going to make it. That's a craving. That's the mind. Craving in the body is not a craving, it's an addiction. Craving in the mind is mental. We can overcome physical addictions and mental agreements that we've made that we need certain things. We just need to break that agreement and say, I need this instead of this. Let's use an example. You're craving chocolate. Why are you craving chocolate? Well, there are multiple things in chocolate that are addictive: sugar, milk, and it's highly processed. But what about vegan chocolate? I'm craving vegan chocolate. Vegan chocolate is very high in another addictive substance, coconut oil, which is a high fat. So what your body is craving is not chocolate, it's craving the fat and the sugar. So what do we replace it with? Raw cacao and dates. And we can blend those and make chocolate. Soak the dates, put in raw cacao, a little vanilla, a little cinnamon, let them soften, blend with an immersion blender, and you can have chocolate anytime you want because now it's a whole plant. What your body's craving is nutrition. What your mind is craving is instant gratification.
Yeah, I love that. So the difference between hunger and cravings then is that I kind of think like when I'm hungry, anything will satisfy my hunger. Kale, an apple, some tofu, a salad. But if if I have cravings, it's usually for something specific. It's not, normally people are craving, some people crave something oily, salty, or often sugary.
Yeah.
And so if, it's like, oh, you know, I think sometimes we also have to stop and figure out, am I really hungry?
Hmm.
Am I having true hunger, or
Yes.
is this just a craving?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and
Because
one thing
oftentimes that we talked about last week, we confuse thirst with hunger. We think
yes,
we're hungry when our bodies are actually thirsty. So
yes.
when cravings come, it's kind of the same idea. It's a confusion. We're confusing the signals. Even if it's a specific thing you're craving, it's not that one thing. It's that one thing that has delivered what you've been craving all your life, but there's something in it that you're craving. So if you find out what that is and then find a whole plant alternative, your craving can be met and your addiction can be released. I think we have questions. I'm not sure. The comments are just lovely. And I really, really just want to say hello to everybody. It's really, really nice to see you all here. And thank you. Thank you so much for being here. And thanks, Jesse, for moderating. That's awesome.
Yes, thank you, Jesse. Nice,
So
nice to see you again.
I think we
Okay,
did have a
so
question.
do you see a question, Sia?
Yeah, it was way, way up toward the beginning, and I want to make sure it was right when we started talking. And
Oh,
she put the,
Janice says, I'm curious
yeah.
what brought Sia to Greece. I
Oh,
oh, she's in Cedarburg.
oh, right. Okay. Well, Janice, what brought me to Greece is quite a long story, but I am half Greek. My mother is from Athens, and my father is American. So I was raised in the United States, but have spent my summers in Greece. And I moved here, well, I guess almost 23, 24 years ago, permanently. I just feel that I like life's journey here. I like the rhythm of life.
Nice. Well,
Yeah.
I would love it if you decided that you like the rhythm in California, but yeah, no. What can
I'd
I
love to
say?
decide that. I'd love to decide that. Oh, if it were only possible.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
So, there is a saying, Sia, that we crave the foods that we habitually eat. And when I think
Yeah.
about back before I was whole food plant based, when I was a serious yo-yo dieter, I was never craving healthy food. It wasn't salad, right? That I was craving. It was usually high calorie density processed somethings,
Sure. Yeah.
that
If
had that really high bliss point
yeah,
combination of salt, oil, and sugar that
that
would
pleasure.
hijack my yep, that would hijack my brain, give me a big dopamine rush, and then I would crash and I would crave more of it. Um,
Mm.
so, one thing that I did learn from Dr. Doug Lyle is that a craving is just a sensation. It's a feeling, and we don't
Mm-hmm.
have to feed a feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And oftentimes, we can um, delay acting on
Mhm.
it. We don't have to act on it immediately. Now, for me,
Right.
I know that hunger kind of comes on more gradual for
Mm.
me. It's like, oh, I think I'm getting hungry, but it's not like an emergency kind of thing. But with a craving, for me, cravings kind of come on suddenly.
Yeah.
And I used to act on them impulsively. I
Ah,
didn't stop to analyze what's going on, you know. So,
yeah. Yeah, because well, there's a lot going on. First and foremost,
mhm.
it's mind body. There's a whole involvement there of all of that. But you touched on it. The craving had to be instant. That instant gratification,
Yeah.
and it's wanting that thing in there. So it's a mix of mind body. And again, you said it so beautifully. The craving it lasts, like Dr. Lau said, an instant. In the book Living Beautifully, they talk about in the first chapter, and it's just beautiful, this idea that even emotion, every emotion we have, lasts about 90 seconds fully until our mind decides to keep it going. So our mind can decide to keep feeling joyful and keep doing things, and our mind can hang on to that instant, that fleeting craving. Give it a minute, drink a glass of water, eat a boiled potato, as Dr. Jen Hawk recommends. Always eat a cup of potatoes before you're going to go for the craving food to see, are you full? Do you still want it? That's a nice trick as well that she gave us. Um, but again, it goes back to you've got that instant of craving, and now it's up to your mind to keep it going because your body's over it. Your body's already over it. But your mind can say, no, I got to keep going till I get that. I got to keep going till I get that. That's addiction. That's
Yep,
addiction.
that's addiction. Gina has a question. Hi, Gina.
Sure.
Thanks for joining us too. She's also one of our moderators. She said, is craving an emotion and hunger is physical?
Hmm. I think they're both. Are they not? Hunger is physical. Hunger is physical. We don't become emotionally hungry. We become emotionally upset and eat in order to comfort ourselves. But that's not hunger. That's emotion. So hunger, actually, if we really look at the question and answer it genuinely, physiologically, hunger is the body. Craving is the mind.
Mhm.
Surely we can change our minds. We change our minds all the time about all kinds of things. Some of us used to think eating meat and cheese was really, really great. I'm one of them. I don't think that anymore. So I changed my mind. We have the power to change our minds. It's not easy. I know that, but it
Well,
can
it
be done.
takes absolutely, it can be done. And like anything else that we do, it takes practice. First, we
Yes.
have to be aware, right? We have to be aware that
Yeah.
this is what's happening. And then we have to be mindful about it. And then we have to practice good habits. So, one thing that I did early on in my journey after I went whole food plant based, and I, there were cravings still at that time because I hadn't been eating clean enough long enough. um, is I made a list on a little note card. You could do it on your smartphone to carry with you. But I did a list of things and I put it on my refrigerator. I also had it in my purse. Now I would put it on notes in there in my phone, but a list of things to do when I'm dealing with that feeling of a
Beautiful.
craving. What,
Beautiful.
so
Yeah.
um,
It's like we do in the modified fasting programs. When we're
mhm,
fasting, we make a list before we begin of what we call distractions, things to do. Clean out the junk drawer, fold the towels, walk up and down the stairs, go for a walk, take a nap, pet a cat, pet a dog, plant a flower. whatever it is that's been needing to get done, make a list. Always have those distractions. I think that's a great idea. That you put it in your phone is even better. Never thought of that. Thank you.
You're welcome. I also got a meditation app on my phone at that time as well. And I could set and do, I could do anywhere from 1 to however long, but usually not more than 10 minutes. A little meditation, listen to it. I like guided meditations myself. They help pull me in to the meditation and be able to, then I'm not thinking about the craving.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so then I'm relaxing, because the craving can create a little bit of anxiety
Yeah.
for some of us when you have that craving, because you think, why am I craving that? I'm trying to eat healthy. Why do I want that XYZ thing,
Right. Yeah.
And so that can create a little bit of anxiety. And then the meditation slows down your breathing, relaxes your body. You no
Absolutely.
longer have that flight or fight thing going on, and it helps you think more clearly as well.
Definitely.
And so I just made a list, drink a glass of water, go outside and walk, whatever your list might be. And it sounds kind of silly at my age to have to do something like that, but it's helpful, because in the moment you're not necessarily thinking intellectually.
Indeed.
You're going to react to the feeling.
Indeed.
And the desire. And
Right.
so if you have a list to bring you back on track, I just find that that's very helpful, because we can all be triggered by different things when it comes to cravings.
Yeah, and I love the idea that you're using meditation, and meditation, just that word alone can make some people nervous. So with meditation, let's try to remember. I learned something very important from a very good friend of mine named Randy, who I love and just admire so much. Do it for a minute, then do it for 2, then 3. Stay at 3 as long as you need. Go longer when you can. I'm going to put a link in the chat room. It's just a blog post. It's called 30. Oh, I can't. Hang on. I might be able to put it here in this one, because I'm a moderator in this one. I put it in the, yep, there it is. So I put a link in the chat room. It's just 30 seconds of your time to just calm yourself. So when a craving hits, if you perform this 30-second little practice that with the sound of the sea that I've put in there for you, that craving may go away. It may go away. If it doesn't, have a big glass of water and then check it again. And again, if it still doesn't go away, do what Dr. Hawk says. Eat a cup of potatoes. If you're still hungry, all right, have it.
Yeah. And, Dr. Doug Lisle also says that the act of chewing, they know that the act of chewing releases anxiety. And so if you're having anxiety, and, whether you're having a craving or not, if you choose to feed yourself something, then feed yourself something healthy, like a potato,
Sure.
or, whatever it is. And that act of chewing will really help. Or also just like running in place also.
Absolutely. Running in place helps. That helps because it helps with the blood sugar thing that's going on at the time. The chewing thing, if you think about chewing gum, smoking cigarettes, these are all oral fixations. There's a reason there's a term, oral fixations, because it's real for a lot of people. And we become orally fixated early in childhood, either through what do you call them? That you give a little baby to suck on.
A pacifier. We call them pacifiers.
So a pacifier. So even as a child, we know that if we give a child something that it can just suck on and chew on, it calms it down. So if that's working then, it's still going to work now. Or physiologically, it's still the same situation that's happening there. So doing that, you can even chew your water because it mimics the act of chewing, releasing the same enzymes that make you happy and keep the craving away. They're all little tricks, but the biggest trick of all is listening to your body first and not just allowing your mind to take over. Remember, you have total control of your thoughts. You have total control of what you think is real, what you think is a good idea, and what you think is good for you. Total control. So use it wisely if you can. And if you can't, it's okay. Next time, try again. Next time, try again. Because there's always a next time. There's always a next time. Yeah.
Yeah, you use those as a learning and teaching experience. So never feel like you failed. Instead, look at it and say, okay, so, that's what I chose to do today. What could I do? What could I have done differently? What will I do differently the next time this happens? Because it's gonna take practice. So we have a question from Tova. Tova says, might the cravings come from needing more energy? They can. They know that when we don't get enough sleep, if you have a bad night's sleep, the next day you'll probably crave carbohydrates because your body is like, oh man, we need some carbs because we got to keep going. So I know when I have a bad night's sleep, the next day, in the first thing in the morning, I know how my day is going to go. I know that I am going to be craving carbs. My body does that routinely.
Which is great because there are a lot of beautiful natural plants that have carbs. So as long as that craving that you have because you had a bad night's sleep, you don't grab a bag of potato chips or French fries, you grab boiled or steamed potatoes or sweet potatoes, you're ahead of the game and you're giving your body what it needs. So it can happen because of lack of energy due to lack of sleep and things like that. But lack of energy through the day without taking sleep into account, lack of energy is lack of nutrients and lack of calories. So it's not the salt, oil, or sugar that brings on that lack of energy. It's the lack of nutrients and the lack of nutrient-dense calorie food.
Yes.
Okay.
Did you want to talk about the, well, first of all, was there anything more that you wanted to add to the difference between true hunger and cravings?
I don't think so. Okay. I think we've really, really covered the difference between the mind and the body. And if by chance you're listening to this show or you're watching it later and these ideas are creating emotions in you that are perhaps, I don't like that when I'm hearing that. If you're feeling about what you're hearing, please take a pause, because all you're hearing is that true hunger is satisfied with real food and drinking proper water. It's not satisfied by appeasing your brain. If anything being said is making you go like this, spend some time think about what we're talking about. Mm-hmm. It's powerful. It's powerful and can be hard to accept.
It can. It can. So, Sia, what about triggers for cravings, focusing on getting all 5 flavors each day?
That's it.
Let's talk about the 5 flavors.
Okay. All right. So let's talk about the 5 flavors that we want. Let's see, can one of the, either Gina or Jesse put the 5 flavors into the chat room so we can see them, so people can see what we're talking about, and say, oh, I missed one or whatever. So we've got them in there. Tova says, when I'm hungry and need to eat, I like to have food in it. I know, babe. I know. I hear you. I hear you. You know, I completely understand. And we have to do what we feel is right. And if we feel poorly after that, we have to take that on board as well. So we do what we feel is right in the moment, and then we assess how do we feel afterwards. And if we feel good and joyful and energetic and hydrated and well and happy and joyful, you've done well. And if you feel sluggish or a little gassy or kind of full or bloated, maybe it wasn't such a great choice. But only you can decide that each time that you do it. Each time we make those choices. I think I forgot what you asked me, Tami.
Oh, the 5 flavors.
The 5 flavors. Yes. Okay. Thank you, Jesse. Sweet,
Yep.
sour, bitter, salty, umami. So we know that if we have all 5 flavors present in a single meal, cravings cease to exist, because you have given your body all the flavors it craves. If we're missing out on those 5 flavors, we start to crave it. So since, say we make something and it doesn't have something salty in it, like celery or beetroot, after that meal, we may crave something salty. Why? We didn't get enough sodium. You're not craving salt, you're craving sodium. Your body wants sodium, not salt. So, but if we're not eating sodium-rich foods, then we're going to crave what we call salt, but we're craving sodium. So if we have all 5 flavors present, our body's like, what a nice balance. Again, even our daily meals are in balance, and our body loves consistency, balance, homeostasis. So the more of the 5 flavors we can incorporate into every meal and sneak them in there, the better chance we have in not struggling with cravings. Is it going to be perfect on day 1? No. But will it get better and better if you are consistent and steadfast? Yes, it will. And your taste palates will neuroadapt, and those cravings will shift. But it takes time. It takes time, but it can be done. It can be done.
Well, and I did learn that from you, Sia, from one of the modified intermittent fasting programs I did with you. And so I'm really conscientious about that when I'm making my salads. Now, my big chopped salad. So I'm incorporating more ingredients into them, but I'm doing smaller portions of each of those ingredients so that I do get all of those different flavors in that meal. And
Great.
it's, and it's super satisfying.
Extremely, because you're giving your body everything it wants, all at once. And it's like, woohoo, it's like a party.
Yeah, it is. And it's actually really easy to do that, you guys. At first it seems like, oh my gosh, that's so much to think about, but it really isn't, because it's all these different foods that we just naturally do like anyway. And so just put them all in there. And one thing I've learned from going whole food plant-based is there doesn't have to be rules about what goes together.
That's right.
Like,
that's right.
Yeah. Like I have these combo plates.
Yeah, you can put all kinds of stuff together and it works, because again, all of this, all all the salad fixings you're talking about, and we're talking about all these different flavors, it goes back to one idea that all the plant-based doctors agree on. So like all the plant-based doctors that we all know and love, they all have little subtle differences in their approaches and in their plans. Cool, fine. But there is one thing that they all agree on. The more diverse your diet is in whole plants, the better health you will have. So let's just start there. Let's just start with getting that diversity, getting those 5 flavors, getting all of the ingredients to make sure that we can keep everything at bay. Does it take time to neuroadapt from salt, oil, and sugar? Absolutely. Some take, well, one of them takes like 3 or 4 days. I think fat takes like 3 months, something like that, to neuroadapt.
Yeah, like
And
120
don't quote me on
days.
that, but I mean, there was some like, there was one that was a really long time period. Kathy Taylor would know better than I on that one. She was well versed in that one. I forgot that detail, but it takes time. But if you stay with it, you can change the palate. You can change what you crave. And there was a comment that fat is not a flavor. It surely isn't. And Jesse, you're right. It has a feel. It's fatty, and fat, although not a flavor, is something our body needs. Unfortunately, we choose saturated fats more often than not. But our body needs fat. Our gallbladder can't work without it. So we need a certain amount of fat in our diet. What we don't need is saturated fat, trans fat. And what we don't need is more than, I think, like 10% fat, 15 in our diet. Keep it low, keep it low. But, me, myself, I'm making sure I'm eating like 3-4 avocados a week. I make sure of it. So I'm getting my good fats and my omega-3s. Yeah.
And those good fats have a nice mouthfeel to them.
Yes.
As well.
Yeah.
That's what creates a lot of creaminess and
Yes.
a delicious mouthfeel. Francie also wants to know, what's the difference between salt and sodium?
Sodium is a naturally occurring element in plants. Salt is mined from the earth or from the sea. If it is mined from the earth, it is usually iodized. In other words, they add iodine to it. If it is from the sea, it is usually not iodized because it has natural iodine from sea vegetables. Where do we plant-based SOS-free eaters get our iodine? Sea vegetables, seaweed. And not a great taste, so I sneaky peed it into my roux and bases for my sauces and my chilies. So much so that I was sneaking it into every single meal I ever made for like a few months. My husband had a blood test and his iodine was too high. And the doctor's like, I've never seen this before. I was like, okay, I'll cut back on the seaweed. I'm sorry, too much seaweed. So seaweed, and you get your iodine. And celery, beetroot, you'll get your sodium.
Swiss chard.
Swiss chard. That's another one. Yeah, that's another one. And just remember with your sodium that you also want to be getting potassium. We're really lucky. Some vegetables have both. So eat a lot of those. But, you're looking at broccoli, asparagus, sweet potatoes, beetroot, chard, Swiss chard, sorry. Asparagus, I said, that was a big one. And celery. So you can get a lot of sodium from these natural foods, and they're whole plants. So you get the fiber as well, which is excellent.
All good suggestions. And it really does make a difference. So when you're first starting out, for a lot of people, like giving up the oil is pretty easy. And the sugar, not too bad either, because we can have fruits, we can have dates, we can, we can find things that please that sweet desire that we have. Sodium is a much trickier thing for a lot of people. So you can, if you add Swiss chard or you add diced up celery, because those both have a higher natural amount of sodium in them, then that will help give you that salty flavor, but in a healthy way.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, I like to dehydrate beetroot and celery and then grind it up into a powder. And so I can add it to every recipe. So it's always present. You don't have to do that. You can just add just a little bit. There are many vegetables that have sodium, more sodium than celery even. And it's, you can just search it up. Plants that have high in sodium, plants high in potassium. and make sure you're getting a nice diverse choice from both of those lists to make sure your sodium potassium levels are working and your sodium potassium channels will be functioning in your cells. Does the seaweed
And
make
then
your food taste fishy? Yeah, that's why I put it in. I sneak it into sauces, Francie, because like normally I'm like, "Ooh, that's just like stinky." So I'm not used to it yet. So I still sneak it into sauces. And when I say that, what I mean is I'll take a jug and I'll put in dehydrated mushrooms, sun-dried tomatoes, some seaweed, and a bunch of spices, and I cover it with warm water and I let it soak for a few hours. Then I blend it and I use that as my cooking base for like a lentil stew. When I do that, I don't taste the seaweed anymore and it doesn't taste fishy. So that's a little trick that you can do to sneak it in there.
that's a good idea. Sia, what about miso for a natural way to get some sodium? We
Absolutely.
didn't talk
Yeah,
about that.
absolutely brilliant. Yeah, miso is wonderful. Miso is great for your blood pressure. It is made from soy. It is a probiotic, so it's a great thing to have in your diet. Don't eat it by the cupful. You want to be careful. It does got some, it's got some stuff in it, and it does have quite a bit of sodium. So a teaspoon a day will do you, but it'll give you plenty of sodium and some nice fats and the soy. So you've got also those nutrients from the soy that are helping with our hormones and our endocrine system. This is all very important. So miso, big hit for me. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and
Definitely.
it does not have an adverse effect to anyone who has hypertension. It does not cause your blood pressure to rise. They have done studies on it. You can look at nutritionfacts.org and
There
put
you
in
go.
miso there, and you can read about it. And
Yeah,
so it's actually really quite healthy and good for you to have. So Tova says,
definitely.
I love bread. I notice it's hard to
Yeah.
eliminate. And Francie says, why not a pinch of salt?
Right. Okay. So let's look at both of those things. First, Tova, I love bread too. I'm Greek. I can't help myself. So I have learned how to make bread from red lentils. And I make savory and sweet versions. And I make my own buns, and they are bean based. So there's no flour. There's nothing processed in there. It's whole, it's red split lentils, psyllium, natural acidic juice, soda, and then whatever flavorings you want, spices. So you can make like a sage and rosemary and have like a nice, kind of flavor, or some garlic onion buns. I like to make chocolate raisin buns. So I make a lot of those. And I also like to make vanilla raspberry buns. Take the same recipe and just play with it. That recipe is definitely on the 60 Facebook, but it's probably hidden way down, but it's also in the WhatsApp chats. So I'll look for it, Tova. And if nothing else, I'll find it for you for the MFP. So I'll share that recipe with you. And the
Well,
second question.
everybody watching is going to want it.
All right. So, second question. So for that recipe, let me put my head together and figure out a way to get that. Maybe I'll get that recipe in next week's goodies package as a link. So those of you who have RSVP'd and you get the goodies with all the extra links and Tami's story and my story and what we're talking about today, I'll get that in for next week. I'll put the red lentil bun recipe so you can have your bread again. I put in a link, a little bit won't hurt, and other nonsense. I think.
So
Yeah,
why not a pinch of salt? Francie
because
wants to know.
yeah, because we need literally, if like actual table salt, we need a teaspoon a day. So a pinch of salt, is that a teaspoon? How big is your pinch? Are you still getting too much? I don't know. If you get more than a teaspoon a day, you've activated the addiction. So a little bit won't hurt. Yeah, it will. It will. Because a little bit might lead to a little bit more, and a little bit more. If you have the fortitude within you to put that pinch of salt, no more than a teaspoon a day, into your food, and don't get drawn to do more and more, go for it. Go for it. Because that means you have and you are in your state of being in control of what your choices are, and good for you. But for those who struggle, a little pinch of salt is going to lead to more and more. Francie, if you can do it, honey, enjoy your pinch of salt. But if you find that it leads you to more and more, just take that on board and have a think about it.
Very good. And Dr. McDougall says if you need that little pinch of salt, instead of putting it in the food when you're cooking it, you will get more benefit from it. It will taste saltier if you sprinkle just that little tiny bit over the food right before you eat it, rather than cooking it in the food. So, but also,
you could also use dulse seaweed, because it has a mild flavor to it, and it comes nice and crumbly, and you could crumble that on top, and that gives you the iodine and that salty flavor without being too fishy, because it comes from the sea. So dulse is a really nice mild seaweed to use for a pinch of salt, let's say.
Yeah. And there are some salt substitutes, healthy ones that you can get. So there's one called Table Tasty. It's from Benson's, and you can find that online. You can order directly from them, or you can get it from Amazon, from a company who we love because our friends run it, Well Your World. It's WELL, Your World. They have some healthy salt substitute seasoning mixes that are really great. You can get one from the local spicery. I was having brain fade. Local spicery. It's localspicery.com. And I can have Tom put these in the show notes if they're not already in there. And they have salacious, it's called, and it's made from different herbs, and it has a salty flavor to it. Also, if you use lemon juice or lime juice, the lemon juice or lime juice can kind of fool your taste buds and make things, that sour flavor can make things kind of taste salty to you as well. So, so there's some different things that you can do. And if you stop using the salt shaker, at first the food will taste a little bit flat to you, but you will adapt and you'll get to the point where you don't need that salt because the food will just taste so amazing to you, and you'll actually be able to detect the natural sodium that is in plants. So you will take a bite of that celery and you'll go, oh my gosh, that tastes salty. You'll have some greens and you'll take a bite of them and you'll think, oh, that tasted salty.
Yeah, right. Especially like Swiss chard. That can be really salty. Yeah.
It can. And sometimes I'll just lightly steam a leaf of Swiss chard, and then, I'll put potatoes in it or some kind of grain and some lentils and roll it up like a burrito, and it will taste, and it'll taste salty. So
that sounds good. That sounds tasty. I like it.
It is. It's yummy.
Wonderful.
So
wonderful.
Okay. So so I think that's good. We've talked about the 5 flavors, and then we were going to talk about how the triggers imply addiction. We did talk about that just a little bit earlier, and that we must realize the truth of our addictions. And that's also really important.
And it's really difficult. It's not only, it's important, but it's so difficult because there comes a moment when one must say, wow, I really am actually just choosing this. And I don't actually have to choose it. That's a difficult moment, because, well, like when I have my moment of that, I finally realized every bite I put into my mouth is my choice. I went through a stage of, what have I been doing to myself? Why am I being so cruel to my body? Why am I hurting myself? Why don't I love myself enough? And it became that kind of exploration. And the more I ate this way, the more I found that none of those things were true. I was just choosing badly. And the more I chose wisely, the more everything opened up. The more things were joyful and energetic and balanced and calm. And I didn't have to work so hard at getting that way anymore. So it takes some time, but the biggest challenge, I think the most difficult part, is accepting that it's our responsibility. It's our choice. No one's putting anything in our mouths except for us. So ultimately, we either say, okay, I'm going to break that idea, I'm going to change it, and I'm going to do this instead. Or we say, that's just part of who I am. Okay. But know that that's what you're accepting. Know that that's what you're accepting. It's know thyself.
So,
Not
yeah.
easy.
So, what I'd like to add to that, Sia, is when I first learned about food addiction myself after going whole food, plant-based, listening to Dr. Doug Lyle, listening to some of the food addiction experts, initially I was in denial. I didn't want to think that that was me initially.
Yeah.
Initially, I will have to admit that I was embarrassed.
Oh,
I didn't want to say that I have a food addiction. These were like in those first couple of weeks, the mental process that I
sure.
was going through and thinking, wow. So initially I didn't want to believe it, but then the more I learned about it, the more I read about it, the more I realized, oh yeah, so I do have food addiction issues. That isn't anything to be embarrassed about.
No.
That it isn't something that I chose to do, although I was choosing to eat the foods that I was eating that perpetuated that addiction. At that time, I didn't know any better. I
Right.
had been told by society that I should be able to eat everything in moderation, that I needed, right? That I needed to be
If
able,
you could eat
right?
everything in moderation, you wouldn't have any health problems to begin with. So
Right.
if,
And
if you,
I would not have been overweight, right?
oh,
And
right,
so and so I really did think that I was broken, that something mentally was wrong with me, until I learned that it was, the highly processed, high
mm,
calorie density foods that the food companies had hired scientists to work on the bliss point to get the exact amount of fat, oil, and sugar in them, that it would hijack my brain and make
yep,
me want to keep eating it. And so once I learned that, then I was like, okay, this totally makes sense to me. And it was
mhm,
at that point in time that I decided I really have to share this information with Tom. I have to talk to him and educate him about food addiction and why I can't have these foods in my house anymore. And then I thought I also have to educate our children, and who,
mhm,
they weren't living with us at the time, they were in college, because I needed everybody to be able to support me in
right,
my new found way of eating. And so I thought, in order to protect myself, I
mhm,
have to educate them so that they won't say, Mom, why don't you, it's okay, you can have some of this,
right,
you know.
right,
And
Right.
so, and then that was a huge relief. I felt like a huge burden had been lifted from my shoulders
Wonderful.
when, when I told the people around me, and of course, they love and care for me. They want me to be successful. And
Hmm.
so then if we did decide to go out to eat or something, they were looking at the menu at the restaurant and going, "Okay, mom, I think if we went here, you could have this and you could have that.
Right.
And, would
Oh,
that be okay?" And, you know, and so I think it's really important to acknowledge, admit, and educate not only yourself, but the people around you so that they can support you, especially if you're someone like me who,
mhm.
for almost 40 years, I was always constantly on some kind of a diet.
Right.
I never adopted a healthy lifestyle. It was some kind of a diet. And so people were used to me temporarily doing something for a while and then stopping and going back to eating the way I used to, until the next new fad diet came
Right.
out. And so food addiction is real. It really is something. And when you go in the grocery store, most of that food that's in the middle of the grocery store that is highly processed, shelf stable. I'm not talking about like canned vegetables or canned beans, but all that other junk. It really isn't food. We have
No, it's
forgotten
from
what
food.
food.
It's
Say
from
again.
food. It's from
Yes.
food, but it's not
Yes.
food.
No.
Food is whole plant. Everything else is made from food. So you can eat things that are from food, or you could eat food. And from food, kind of remove the middleman. Just eat the food.
Right.
Yeah, not from food. And you were talking about addictions and how they like try to make them more addictive. You're not wrong. For those of you who have read The Cheese Trap, you know this. For those of you who have not, please do. The dairy industry went and did multiple studies in order to make cheese more addictive. And so they added a salt content that was so high that it's one of the most difficult things to give up when transitioning to a whole food plant-based lifestyle. Cheese is the one thing that you hear most often from people, and there's a reason. They've built it that way. They make it that way. If you have not read The Cheese Trap, please check it out, because it's so gross. You might not even walk by a cheese counter ever again. Once you find out how they actually make it, it's so disgusting. I mean, it's difficult to read at some points. It's really, really disgusting what they do in order to keep us eating cheese. So you're right. It's by design. The
It
addictions are
is.
by design. Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
yeah.
they're absolutely. So I don't want anyone to feel bad about being someone who has food addictions. We were just the way our brains are wired. We are hardwired to seek out the highest calorie density food for the least amount of effort, and the food manufacturers have taken advantage of
Yeah.
that intentionally, well knowing what they are doing, and they're doing it to the children with the cereals and all the bars and things that are marketed for kids, get them addicted early on, and then we
Hook
have
them
a
while they're
customer.
young. It's the
Yeah.
same thing. Hook them while they're young.
Hmm.
Every processed addictive substance out there has a marketing plan to hook them while they're young. They had to remember e-cigarettes. They had to take bubblegum flavor away. Hook them while they're young. There's no
Yep.
difference here. The processed foods are there to hook you. And once you're hooked, it's called an addiction. And it's okay. It's not your fault. And it is something you can change. Um, and Tami, your transition, thank you for sharing so honestly what you went through. Um, you know, when you transitioned and how important it was for you to have that support. And you said something really interesting that I had never even contemplated, that you were embarrassed because you had to say, I'm an addict. And I never really thought of it that way, because I am an addict, you see. So I'm a recovered addict. And when I read that cheese was addictive, it was it wasn't an embarrassing moment for me to say I'm addicted to cheese, because I've already had to say I'm addicted to fill in the blank at other times in my life. I've gone through multiple struggles with addictions. So when I learned that these foods were addictive, knowing that I'm an addict, I know how important it is that I stay away from it. It's like an alcoholic. Some of them can sit at the bar and drink in O'Doul's and chat with their friends, and some can't even walk by a bar. You just need to figure out where you are on that spectrum, and address your addictions according to your reality. I've just had a lot of practice addressing addictions, folks. And I'll admit it. It's who I am. It's part of my history. But I have overcome them. And they gave me the reason and the power to overcome further addictions. So once you conquer one, you're a warrior. You can conquer them all.
That's beautifully said, Sia. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
And I think that for everyone watching today, because we're talking about, when you choose the behavior, you're choosing the consequences. And that's after you know the facts. That's after you have educated yourself. Now that you're educated with it, when you are choosing that behavior, you are choosing the outcome. What's interesting is that the addiction can be so powerful that even though we know it intellectually, that doesn't make it always easy to make the
No,
right decision.
it
And
absolutely does not. It absolutely does not. And it's a struggle. And addiction is a constant struggle. And it's a daily struggle. And it's one day at a time. And just like anything else, just give yourself a moment at a time, a day at a time, one, like you and Tom, one meal at a time, you know, getting
right.
there, staying there. And always know you get another chance to make another choice. So you can try again. Never get yourself down. And be kind to yourself, please. Be patient with yourself. Love yourself. And know that you're not perfect, and that's okay. In fact, it's quite beautiful because it makes you unique. So just be kind. Be as kind to yourself as you would be your friends. Try that for a while.
And that's a hard thing. That's a hard
Yeah,
thing, Sia,
I know.
for a lot of people, because a lot of people are really good at nurturing,
Mm,
mothering, and caring for other people, and they put themselves last, and they
yeah,
don't give themselves that same love and care. So
yeah.
this is an area where we have to be extremely intentional.
Oh,
You are
definitely.
not right? You are not going to get healthy and create healthy habits by accident.
No,
You can't just wish it. You have to make it happen. You have to put things in place to make it happen. And
yeah.
with that, maybe we could talk about how to avoid the triggers for
Mm,
cravings. What are some of the things that people can do? Because cravings are going to happen. You just have to know that, you guys. Even though you adopt this amazing lifestyle, right? Sia,
yeah, for
still
sure.
cravings still happen. Now,
Oh, yeah.
I don't have cravings every day. It's not frequent like it used to be when, I was like a drug addict with sugar. Um, craving sugar all the time, and chocolate and what have you. It's not like that for me anymore. But do I have cravings? Yeah, I still have cravings
Of course.
uh, because there's so many things in our environment that create cravings. Um,
Mm,
it can be memories.
Yeah.
associated with someone who you love, who you always shared a certain something with,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Again. Yeah. Comfort, love.
Yep. It can be like foodie friends, I call them. People who you used to go, get your favorite binge foods with, those foodie friends. Those
Your food
that can
friends.
be,
Yeah. Yeah.
that can also be an issue. Um, it can be the smell of the bakery when you go to the grocery store.
Yeah, again, and that's just a memory trigger. Again, it's a memory trigger. And so we're returning, where did triggers come from? The mind.
Mhm.
The mind. Your body speaks to you. Our bodies, I'm so sorry. Our bodies speak to us loud and clear every day. They tell us exactly what we need. It's our minds that get in the way because they want what they want, not what they need, what they want, desires. It's a whole different ball game. And it's hard when the cravings hit. And yeah, I still get cravings too. And they are triggered by emotions. When I feel sad or stressed and have a difficult time, or I'm scared about something, about someone, I'm worried, I want to feel good. And what made me feel good? My mom's, and I have to say it in Greek, macaronia mekima, which is spaghetti and meat sauce. She would make me macaronia mekima, but Greek meat sauce has cinnamon in it. So it's a very unique taste. And I'll find that when I feel very sad, I want my mom's macaronia mekima. Do I have it? No, no, I don't. But I know that when I crave it, it means I'm not feeling that great. And so I spend some time thinking about, why am I craving this? Why am I not feeling that great right now? And explore that. But I have those triggers as well. And it's hard.
Yeah.
They're everywhere. You go to the supermarket and it's all right there. You can all grab it. Efficiency, grab, easy, 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 easy. Um, but just time, commitment, perseverance. Somebody put a comment, and it was about one step forward, two steps back, but at least you're still moving. I don't see it. I can't find it right now. But it's really funny if you think about it. Living this lifestyle, we're kind of like dancing the cha-cha, right? So it's like 1, 2, cha-cha-cha, good, bad, Indian. 1, 2, cha-cha-cha. So how about we just dance and just do the cha-cha? Let's move a step forward. If we make a step back, don't worry, cha-cha-cha, we're back going forward. So yeah, 1, 2, cha-cha-cha. I don't know who posted. I can't find it right now. You guys are just awesome in the chat room. You guys, I love the conversation you're having. I can't wait to read it later.
I
But
know,
whoever
it's
did post
amazing.
that, thank you so much for saying one step forward, one step back. That's beautiful.
Yeah. So some of the things that we can do, and I do have some friends that are on the high end of the spectrum for food addiction,
Okay.
and they don't trust themselves to go to the grocery store, because when they go to the grocery store, they are too enticed by those foods that they used to love. So one thing that came out of the pandemic for us that has been great is the online shopping. And so
Yeah.
I don't know if you have that in Greece or not.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, yeah. And we have organic. It's called Eat Fresh. And they bring all fresh organic vegetables to your house, fruits and
Yeah,
vegetables. Yeah.
so you guys, you can do that. Our daughter, because of she has 3 little children, she does online grocery shopping, and she does curbside pickup. There's 2 grocery stores here that she can do curbside pickup at. Oh, actually three. She does three. And then she also there's Thrive Market, THRIVE Market, which is an online, and they carry a lot of plant-based foods. And so she also orders from them, and she does that for the convenience of, she doesn't have food addiction, but she does that for the convenience of,
Right.
not having to take 3 children in. And but I do have friends who have food addiction who do it because that way they avoid the temptation. They,
Sure.
they're only getting the healthy food that they have ordered. We even have some that deliver to your house here as
Yeah.
well. And so that can be a really good way. We rarely watch like a program on TV that has commercials. The commercials can be a real trigger. Food commercials here
Oh,
can be a
right.
real trigger for people. So we do mostly streaming, not
Uh-huh.
because of the food commercials, but one thing that we've noticed is, oh, we are not getting inundated with all these messages to eat this crappy food
Sure.
because we're not seeing the commercials
That's a good
for it,
point. Yeah.
you
Yeah. I
know?
had.
And so you can avoid that. You can
Mhm.
avoid certain situations. Like, I don't know about in Greece. I know you guys, your culture loves food. Here,
Yeah.
everybody wants to get together and eat out. That's
Yeah.
what people want to do for entertainment. Yeah,
Yeah. We like to
there
go
too.
out. We like to go out to eat. We like to go out and we go out for coffee. Drink coffee. We drink a lot of coffee in Greece. And I do drink coffee from time to time, but I'll go out and I'll have a juice or something. But we're very social. We have great weather, so we're outside. We have outside cafes and restaurants and things. And it's an enormous part of our culture. It's an enormous part of all cultures, socializing over food, because it goes back to that's how we came together. Those were the only times way back when the whole tribe could be together, because otherwise everybody's busy to getting the work done that needs to get done that day. So what was the time to come together? Mealtime. It's still mealtime. So we just need to redefine either what the meal looks like, or we need to redefine what socialization looks like. And that is different for each person, what choice they're going to make on that one. Are you going to, because you can say, instead of going out for a meal, let's go for a walk together, or let's go, to a museum and go see something. Other ideas, some other activity that is not based around something that might trigger you. Yeah, but you're right about going to the supermarkets, the online stuff, all of that is so helpful for people who do struggle with not being able to grab that thing off the shelf. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And then if you are going out for a meal, always check the online menu first so
Yeah.
that you are prepared, so you know what they have. And I have to tell you, I am not ashamed to take my own little cut up potato in a baggie or a little container of beans. If I've looked at a menu and there is like, I'm going to be lucky to get some romaine lettuce at that restaurant, then I'll take my own stuff to dump on it. I am
Okay.
not, I
Well,
am
and that's a good
I'm
solution for that you found for yourself. And so, and if that works for other people to do that kind of, to bring that, then do what works, for you. We all have to decide where we can and where we cannot give that step back, forward, cha cha cha. So we all decide what our step back is going to look like.
mhm.
And we all decide what our step forward is going to look like. And hopefully, in between all of those ideas, we're just having a nice, even, consistent, homeostatic life.
Right. If I have control over where we're gonna go, then it's gonna be someplace where I can get something delicious, but I also don't fret about one meal because, if it's one meal that's just, a simple little salad, that's okay because, the other meals that I eat all week at home are gonna be amazing, delicious, and satisfying. I'm going for the social aspect of it.
Sure.
Um, if we're going to a family gathering and I know there's going to be birthday treats there or what have you, um, even if they're plant-based, they're oftentimes not gluten-free for me. And so I'll just take my own piece of whatever. Nobody else
Yeah.
cares what's on my dessert plate. you
Probably
know,
not.
and,
Not.
and I'm totally like, I'm not embarrassed by doing that, you know, um, and we always also, at all of our family gatherings, whoever's hosting, we always have fresh fruit. So there's always fresh fruit for me as well. So, but if we're going to like a wedding reception or something, I'm going to make sure that when I come home, I have a special treat here that I can have. So, if I get triggered because everybody's having XYZ at the wedding reception, I know when I get home, I'm not deprived. I can have my own version of XYZ
Right.
when I get home. So, that's one way that I deal with it. And it's interesting. So I'm going to say, when I was back home visiting family, my mom had everybody come over and they got it was like homemade ice cream from somebody local who makes like homemade ice cream. So it was super fattening, rich and everything. And they were all like gorging, like they had huge bowls of it and they were like gorging on it. And then, one of my nephews said, "Don't you feel bad that you're not having any of this?" And I said,
Oh,
"No, I don't," which was really interesting, because
yeah.
yeah, because he was like, "Don't you feel bad?" And I was like, "No, I actually, I don't feel bad," because I thought, because you were talking about cheese, dairy, how addictive dairy is in general. And I thought, oh my gosh, look at them. They were all like these little addicts that were just like,
Sure. Well, sure.
feeding
Yeah. Well, they're getting all
the
that casein
addiction.
protein, and that's
Right.
that's the protein in dairy. And casein attaches to receptors in the brain that heroin attaches to.
Mhm.
Listen to
And they
that
were
again.
totally
Heroin
all getting
and
high.
dairy. Of course they were.
Yeah, they
Heroin
were
and
totally,
dairy
yeah.
attached to the same dopamine receptors in the brain. That's how addictive dairy is.
And they all went back for seconds.
Of course they did.
And they had just had this like big meal that they had just eaten. So it
Yeah.
wasn't hunger. They weren't doing it, and truly I sat back and thought, that used to be me.
All
I
right.
am so glad that's not me anymore. I'm
Mm,
so glad, that I'm not caught up in that. And so instead of feeling left out, I felt grateful that I
mm,
know better and that I do better.
mm.
And interesting, a little while after that had happened, a friend of mine who's also a food addict texted me from work. They were having XYZ for somebody's birthday at work, and she was in the bathroom crying
Oh,
because it was something she couldn't have. And I said, and she texted me though, because
my.
she reached out, because we have a thing where we reach out, right? When we're having
Nice.
trouble. And I said, oh, no, no, no. You are not feeling sorry for yourself. You know better. Feel bad for them that they don't know better. Feel bad for them that they're eating that. And you know better. And you're choosing not to do that to your body. Completely turn this around. You are not
Yeah,
deprived.
right. No, not at all. And and yeah, I understand turn around and feel bad for them. We're just turning around and just feel good for you. Feel good
Yes.
for you that it's like, you know what, man, I really want that. And I know it's gonna, what it's gonna do. And I just feel so good that I'm gonna be able to say, nah, I don't think I'm gonna go through that this time. And there are gonna be times when, it's gonna happen. And again, cha cha cha. Take it easy. Take it easy. We're not perfect. We're not meant to be. We weren't built to be. And your ideas are yours. Your beliefs are yours. Your thoughts are yours. What you choose is all you. You
Yes.
can change all of those things at any time, and you're the only one who can do it. No one can change your thoughts, your beliefs, your ideas, or your choices but you. You have the power to do it. You don't have to do it all at once, but you have the power. And that's
Absolutely. You know,
yeah.
I don't know if you know Dr. Roseanne Oliveira. She's from the Sacramento area here. She's wonderful. You would love her. She's originally from Brazil. She has this amazing accent. She said at a conference one time that we went to, she said, you have to figure out why you're trying to do this lifestyle. Why are you choosing to go
Yeah.
against mainstream? What is your reason? And she said, come up with the why that makes you cry. And then when you're having a hard day, you're tempted, it's difficult. You think about the why you have
Mm,
chosen this that makes you cry to reinforce the reason why you're doing this. My
yeah.
why that will make me cry is because my dad was insulin dependent type 2 diabetic, which led to him getting Alzheimer's. He also had addictions throughout his life. And I thought, I don't want to do that to my children or my grandchildren. I don't want them to have to take care of me for a
Mm,
lifestyle related disease that could have been prevented had I made better choices. Now that I know the correlation between lifestyle choices and health,
yeah.
then I'm making the choice to put them through that pain or not put them through that pain. And I'm choosing to not put my children through the pain of watching me deteriorate, watching me do damage to myself. I'm going to be around for as long as I can and be healthy. And I don't want to be a burden. I don't want to be a burden to Tom. You
Right.
know, he doesn't deserve that. And so I'm doing whatever I can to prevent that from happening. And I'm enjoying life much more because of that. So
Sure.
think about the why that makes you cry. And then if I decide to make bad choices, then I know that I'm not only hurting me, but I'm hurting my family as
Wow,
well.
that's huge. That's an enormous why. Wow. Wow. Thank you for sharing that. That's really
You're
powerful.
welcome.
That's that's
It
that's
is.
a that's a big, powerful force behind every decision you make. And it makes you make your decisions out of love.
Yes,
That's lovely.
absolutely.
I like
Yeah.
that. I like that
Yeah,
very
it
much.
totally her just saying that and making me think about it just totally changed my perspective about it. And so yeah, so maybe think about that. Um, so also I think something that you can do too, you guys, if you are like a sugar addict, if sweets really draw you in, if you have difficulty with that, I know that not everybody following a whole food plant-based lifestyle can make the whole food plant-based cookies and brownies and things like that. That
Right.
a lot of people, right, Sia, they can't moderate those because it's too it lights up the dopamine too much for them. Is that what happens? They still get a surge from that, or is it the hand mouth thing? Is it the old addiction
It's
behaviors?
it's the addiction. It's the addiction. I mean, even Dr. Goldhammer tells us, in his lectures at True North, he keeps his cashews in the freezer and he limits himself because he knows when he starts, he can't stop. So he measures out a certain amount and then has his, as he called it, his fix. He gets his fix, but he doesn't overdose. But he has to put them out of the way in order for him not to grab them. That's Dr. Goldhammer. So, yeah, we need to find things that are going to help us as well. And those addictions, the reasons that we want those, we need to define the reasons. Like you said, what's the why? Not only the why on why I'm choosing well, but what's the why behind why I'm choosing poorly? What's the why behind the how? because there's always a why. We don't do things for no reason at all. And having a purpose and understanding that purpose can help us redefine the lifestyle we want to live. When we decide why we want to live this type of lifestyle, if you don't have that why, like you said, it's not going to be doable. It has to be a why, and it can't be fear, because fear is fleeting. You know, as soon as you start feeling better, guess what? You're not going to be afraid anymore. Guess what? You'll stop doing it. So I think one of the best whys is the one that you gave, for love. I make this for love. I do this for love. Love of myself, love of my family, love of my friends, love of my community. And I make those choices because I want to show love to those that I care about. You know? Yeah.
Yeah.
I like
No, it
that.
makes perfect sense.
I like
So
that.
if you do have food addiction issues, you might consider not starting your day in a sweet way. You might consider starting in a savory way. You could have an arugula salad, right, Sia? You could have some greens
Definitely.
to
It's actually
start off.
a really good way to start your day is with greens and with vegetables, whether raw, steamed, however you like them. But it's a nice engine revving upper, because it's easily digestible. Your digestive system has time to wake up from resting and digesting all night during your fasting hours. And so you wake it up, you warm up that engine nice and slow, and then you can bring in the heavier foods that are heavy in carbs and proteins, because these are big molecules. So we want our digestive engine to be warmed up and ready to handle the bigger molecules that are coming in. So to break them down so that they're able to pass through the small intestine into the large intestine and into the colon. So yeah, starting with greens and vegetables in the morning is a great way to jumpstart your digestive tract. It's also a great way to break your cravings, because once you do that for a few weeks, it's an enormous shift in that first morning desire. It's I know, like you and I were we're saying things, and it's like, well, you just do this, you do this, please understand, we're not trying to make it sound like it's just so easy. Just do it. It's not easy. We get it, right? But you do have the power. That's for sure. That's for sure. And remember, just keep adding good things every day until there's no more room for the bad. Keep adding. Don't worry about what you have to let go of. Start focusing on what you get to accept and take in. Add in. Remember, over 3,000 edible plants on the planet. You've got some options.
Absolutely. And also with those dark leafy greens in the morning, Dr. Greger talks about in How Not to Diet, he talks about the thylakoids that are in the dark leafy greens, how they help with the appetite suppressant, how they help with cravings. And so if you start out with those dark leafy greens, then that will help you. For a lot of people, if they start out with something sweet like oatmeal or baked oatmeal or some kind of muffin or something like that, that is more sweet, then that kind of sets them up to want more sweets. I mean, and that's not everybody. I know a ton of you have oatmeal for in the morning.
Yeah, you're right. A lot of people love oatmeal in the morning. This is a complicated topic, oatmeal, because it depends what kind of oats you're getting. If you're having oat flakes, rolled oats, steel cut oats, you're having oats, or you're having grains at a B minus to C grade level on the Excelsis. If you're having oats in the morning, please make sure that they're whole oat groats, that you have soaked them properly, and that they are ready to be digested. There's another reason oats in the morning can be sometimes difficult for people. They're heavy. They're really heavy in protein as well. And again, your stomach isn't ready to break down that protein. So you can get kind of a heavy feeling after having those oats. So for those that whole grain oats are working for you in the morning, great. Keep enjoying them. For those who are using oat flakes or processed oats, please consider what Tami is talking about with the leafy greens and just seeing how that is going to impact both your glycemic index, your blood sugar, your energy, and your blood pressure, because all those oats are processed.
Yeah, so start with the greens first. Later in the morning, if you want to have oats, have some oat groats later in the morning, but start out with, and it doesn't have to be a huge amount. I mean, if you take 8 ounces of spinach and you lightly saute that with a little bit of onion and put some apple cider vinegar on it, you have a little tiny dish.
It's like 3 bites. It's like 3
right.
So, you can just like steam some greens and some zucchini or whatever. Put a little, I like lemon juice on mine. So I put a little lemon juice on there and stuff. And so now I'm revving up my engines with some really nice whole plants. I don't like to over steam them. I keep them still a little crunchy so that, they're not all wilty and stuff, but that's my own preference. And then I wait to get to my heavier cooked foods for my middle of the day. And we talked about this in the show, what we eat in a day. Having that heavy meal in the middle of the day allows you to have the ability to burn off those calories because you're in the middle of the day. You're still moving. You're still active. You can burn off those calories. Whereas if you have your heaviest meal at the end of the day, your dinner, you're going to be trying to burn off those calories while you're sleeping. And that's really, really much more difficult to do.
Definitely. Absolutely. Yeah. And so, in establishing these habits and trying to curb your cravings, if you keep a very clean environment, which we will be talking about that, is it next week where we're going to be talking about that? But you want to have a really clean environment. If you have craving type foods in your house, who are you kidding?
Yeah, exactly.
You cannot rely on willpower. Yeah. If you could have,
you wouldn't be in if you had willpower and it worked, then you wouldn't be in the situation that you're in, that you're trying to address at this moment. So let's just be really honest about that. Let's just be really honest about it. If it's in your house, there's a real good chance that you're probably going to get it in your mouth sometime. So removing those things, that's really important as well. There is a question, and it's from someone who's a first-time viewer of this channel. He's going by the tagline, "But first coffee." And the question is, and I really want to focus on this because it is the question that all people who are new to this transition ask: where do you get your protein? This is also the same question that makes everybody who lives this lifestyle go, because protein comes from plants. Animals don't make protein themselves. They eat plants and they turn that into protein. They take the protein from the plants and that protein goes into their cells. When we eat plants and eat the protein in the plants, that protein goes into our cells in the same way. As Dr. Goldhammer would say, skip the middle cow, just eat the straight protein. Think of the strongest animals in the world. The great ape, yeah, the hippo, the gorilla, the cow, the ox. They're all strong. They're all full of muscle. And they have so much protein. And they only eat plants. We get our protein the same place they do, the plants. And then our body processes it just like they do. So skip the middle column, my friend, and go to the plants, and you'll get plenty of protein. Beans, grains, full of protein. Broccoli, really great protein source. So check it out. I know it's going to be surprising, and I am so excited that you are a she. I see that now. Thank you. I'm glad that you're here. I'm glad that you're enjoying it, that you're listening, and I hope that you will stay with these ideas, explore them more. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to send an email to 60 Living. That's in the liner notes. Send me an email and let's have a chat. And you can ask me some questions. I can help you with some information if you like. I'm always available. Please don't ever hesitate to send me an email if you just need a chat. Okay?
That was
And
very
that's for
well
everyone.
said.
That's for everyone, of course.
Yeah, very well said, Sia. I think, I don't know what kind of nutrition information you get as a student in Greece, but here in the US, we're taught food groups,
I thought you meant doctor. I thought you were going to go to doctors. I was like, zero. Doctors get
No,
zero.
oh no, well, no. But just like in school, we were taught food groups, and there was
Yeah,
a protein. Protein was a food group separate from all the other stuff. And so
right.
we grew up with this idea that we had to have animal protein
Mm,
in order to fill that little spot on it was a
right.
food pyramid when I was a kid, and now it's a plate.
Yeah,
And so what's really interesting, once you adopt a whole food plant-based lifestyle, you find out that there is protein in pretty much everything we eat has some
everything.
protein in it. So an
Actually,
apple has
everything.
a little, our broccoli has a lot. I mean, everything that we eat. And so Google it. If you're new to this, Google plant protein, and you will be amazed at how it stacks up against animal protein. You will
Yeah,
just be
yeah. Like,
amazed.
plants with protein and, per serving. And per serving, plants have more protein than most animal flesh. And they don't have the saturated fat. They do have the fiber, which flesh does not. And so your body can process it more efficiently. Definitely, it's an easy Google search. There are about 1,000 different cookbooks out there as well, maybe even more. Tami, you've got 2 great courses that can start people off making really good salads and batch cooking to make sure you've always got food on hand. So it's all in the preparation, and it takes time, and it's a transition. But first coffee, please go to the liner notes, and there is a link, contact 60 Living, and please, you'll access just send me an email and let me know. If you could, let me know your real name and tell me that you were But First Coffee, and then I'll know. And then we can have a lovely chat and perhaps arrange a time to meet on Zoom to just talk about what you're going through, what's happening, where you want to go, and how we can all get there together. Okay? And I
That's
mean
great,
this.
Sia. So I know we've gone over today just a couple things that I would like to suggest to people. So one is make your little card, or on your phone in your notes. Give yourself a little list of things that you can do when a craving hits,
Yep.
so that you don't have to give in to the craving. You might consider making a vision board. You can go online and do one like in Canva with pictures and sayings and things. You can do old school with magazines, cut things out, make yourself a little vision board of, where do you want this to go? Where do you want this plant-based lifestyle to lead you? What are your health goals? When I first did that, I had that baby plastered on my refrigerator for months. It was a great conversation piece when people came in the house. They were like, "What is this?" And I would be like, "Oh, well, let me tell you." So that was great. Another thing I really like is affirmations, because Sia was talking about our brain and what we tell ourselves, and who we listen to the most is us in here, what we're thinking. That
Mm,
we are talking to ourselves all the time. We are telling ourselves stuff all of the time,
mm.
and sometimes those thoughts can be negative. Sometimes they can be downright mean to ourselves.
Yeah,
Yeah. And so
yeah.
positive affirmations, I think, are really important. So I challenge everyone today to
Oh,
pick 3
challenge.
words.
Get ready,
Yeah.
guys. That
Okay,
challenge.
pick three words that you can recite to yourself if you're starting to have negative thoughts, if you're having a craving, you're just having a difficult day. One that I use for myself is I say, I'm dedicated, I'm motivated, and I am disciplined about my healthy lifestyle. And I will just repeat that to myself. I am dedicated, I am motivated, and I am disciplined about my healthy lifestyle.
Nice
And
mantra.
thank you. Thank you.
Nice mantra.
So,
Yeah, definitely.
yeah. So, you write yours, you come up with something that has meaning to you, write it down, put it on a card, put it in your phone, and start reciting that to yourself on a daily basis. Positive affirmations are very powerful, and they can really change your thinking. They can change how you're feeling in the moment about
Indeed.
yourself.
Yeah.
So try just reciting those to yourself. And if you fall down, just get right back up.
There you go.
every
Those are nice
every
ideas.
day's Yep, every day's a new day. It's a new
Yeah,
start. And
definitely.
so affirmations
I
next
like it.
week, you can share it if you want to with us
All right.
for next
Yeah, you
week.
can tell us your affirmations next week when we meet. And I just real quick, a couple of people have contacted through 60 Living. Thank you. I will respond. Please remember, I live in Greece. It is currently 25 to 11 at night. So I will respond tomorrow. So just give me a chance. I need to get some sleep in a while, okay?
No way, you're gonna go to bed. Well, Sia, thank you so much. This has just been amazing. I really feel like this was one of our best meetings that we've had with everybody so far. I've loved it today. Thank you for being so honest and candid and sharing your story with us. And next week, we are going to talk about how preparation beats motivation.
It's
That'll
all
be a
prep.
good one.
It's
It is.
all prep. As long as everything's ready, all you got to do is grab it. So next week, we're going to learn how to get it ready and grab it.
Yeah. It's going to
Oh,
be
and if you
great.
want,
We're going to
want
love
those
it.
goodies, if you want the weekly mailer that goes out on Monday morning, please remember to RSVP before midnight on Sunday, because that's the cutoff time to receive the goodies for next week's show. So I send it every Monday morning, Greek time. Remember, big time difference. So Sunday night is the cutoff, so I can get it out to people. So you have a day with the material before we meet. So if you do RSVP, just know that if you've RSVP'd after Sunday night, you will not be receiving that that week because of the time difference.
And if you've already RSVP'd, you only have to RSVP once.
Oh yeah,
And then
you're good.
that gets you on the mailing list. And if you already did it, you're on the mailing list and you will get the email next Monday. So
Yes.
we will be here again at our next, yeah, you'll get that next Monday. We'll be here again on next Tuesday
There you go.
at 11 a.m. Pacific time again. And Sia, thank you for staying up late and joining us. This was fantastic.
I've really had a great time today. I've loved the chat. I know it's a little distracting when I start going like this, but I'm trying to read everything. And you guys have been just fantastic, sharing great ideas, being supportive of one another, interacting with everything that's happening. Thank you for your time. Thank you for being here with us. And Annette, I know you did a couple cha-cha-chas. I saw that earlier. Keep dancing, my friend. You got this. Just keep
You
dancing.
do.
All right.
Yes.
So
And thank
thank
you
you
to
all very
Gina.
much.
And thank you to Gina and Jesse for helping us out in the chat by moderating today. We really appreciate you ladies volunteering and doing that. So have a great week. We'll see you next week. Until then, live well.
All right.